Now, First Alert 6 weather.
Good morning, everybody. It is a First Alert 6 weather day, and we are already getting storms that are capable of severe weather in the viewing area. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place in Platte County through 10 a.m., and I'm tracking the storm. Let's go ahead and take a look at where this is and what risks we are looking at with this. We'll also track it. So there's the viewing area. You can see there's not much activity that's out there right now, but as we look a little further to the north and west, right around the Columbus area, we've got a storm that has strengthened, and it's going to pass likely just north of Columbus, head toward the Humphrey area. Let me click on this and we can get the details of this up so you can see what we are looking at with this. It is a severe thunderstorm warning, and it's a storm that's capable of quarter-sized hail, and that lasts through 10 a.m. with this. So we're continuing to track this one as it moves in from the west. Told you this morning, Rusty's been talking about how we would likely just have maybe one or two of these storms that develop, and then they would start to sweep in from the west and track their way off to the north. This is a little earlier than expected, but already looking at some of these being in place. Let me get this as a still image of the radar, and we can track what we are looking at as far as who is in the line of this. These are moving pretty quickly. We've got about 45 mile per hour speed on these to the north and east. So let me just pull up the track here, and we'll let you know who is in line to experience the risks as a result of this. So again, it's this storm right here. We track that off to the north and east, going about 45 miles per hour. So that would put it pretty close to Lee, right around 10 o'clock, heading toward Clarkson, Howells, and eventually toward Dodge, Nebraska, as it continues to the north and east. So this is moving pretty quickly. Again, that warning only goes through 10 this morning, and capable of quarter-sized hail with that. I'm also going to work on getting a Nebraska DOT camera pulled up here from that area. This is just off to the north of the Clarkson area. We'll again put this into motion so you can track that, and we'll clear the screen off a little bit for you as well. So there we go. And I will pull this full. You can continue to track that while I pull up that DOT camera. So again, if you're just joining in, this is a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place for Platte County, and that goes through 10 o'clock with a storm capable of quarter-sized hail. And I'm about to show you a Nebraska DOT camera that is in the area of this storm. You can kind of see some of the dark clouds in the distance on this. All right, so here we go. This is just to the north of Columbus, and this is on Highway 81. You see in the distance behind that banner how you've got the dark clouds there. Likely going to be raining soon on this Nebraska DOT camera, as this lone storm starts to push its way in from the south and west into some of our northwestern towns. Looking at some of the information, this storm got the new warning as it was just over Genoa, and it's moving north and east, so eventually likely going to continue to the north and east, and we'll see if it holds together with its strength. This is the sort of thing that we've been expecting to take place this morning. A little bit earlier than we were expecting it to start up, but just to get one or two storms that develop, get strong, and then make their way off to the north and east. And this is the reason why we have this First Alert 6 weather day. And if you maybe missed that announcement that came out last night, meteorologist Matt Surwey did issue that based on some of the trends we were seeing on the models to bring some of these storms in that would have some strength with them during the course of our late morning to afternoon time frame, and we have kept that going with what we are seeing right now. So this is the current situation. One storm that has a severe thunderstorm warning, and it is off to the north and west of the metro. This is the overall view that we are looking at of the viewing area, and we're going to zoom in a little bit more. You can see around the metro, quiet for the time being, nothing that is threatening the metro at this point. But if you're north and west of the metro, we do have one storm there that is making its way through Platte County there, and has the capability of having that quarter-sized hail. And what I could do here, well, let's freeze this, and what we have is a hail view here that I could pull up, and we can kind of scope this over this storm. Okay, my graphics having a little bit of difficulty here. Here's what I'm looking for. Okay, so you can kind of see as you're looking at this that kind of clump of some gray that's showing up. That's a sign that there is some hail falling out of this storm, and usually we would see that maybe with a little bit of a blue speck in it would indicate that there's some larger hail that is falling out of this. Doesn't look like we've seen that just yet, but we'll keep an eye out for that. It does, based on the radar trends, show that there is definitely some hail coming out of this, and we may be seeing that at times get a little bit larger in size. So let's go back to that radar view that we had. And while we have this pause, let's go ahead and track this. The storm moving to the north and east, generally about 45 miles per hour. So if we go to the core of the storm, track that about 45 miles per hour or so. So we'll move this a little bit out of the way so you can see the storm and the track. So heading eventually toward Tarnov here probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes. It'll make its way toward Creston, Nebraska. And then if it holds together, it would head toward Lee and eventually head its way into some of our northern counties there, up into Cumming and Stanton counties. But currently in Platte County, we do have a Nebraska DOT camera that is in that area. Let's see if, as this is crossing Highway 81, what kind of situation we're seeing on the cameras. We'll pull that full screen. So you can see some of the dark clouds that are in place. And this is a camera that does kind of circulate on its own, so you're going to be noticing that as we have that up. You see some of the clouds that are in place. I'm going to pull up a different camera a little further to the north, a little closer to Tarnov, and see if we can get a different view of some of this stormy weather that's happening in this direction. It looks like this one is more focused on the roads at this point. Dry at this point, but again, this is a storm that is heading toward Tarnov at this point. We are off to the north of Columbus. Let's go ahead and head back to that radar view. Before we do that, let's talk about what the risk is today for our First Alert 6 weather day. And just review this in case maybe you missed that come out earlier today. It is the threat for a few strong storms, and we are a little bit early with this first one, but carrying into the afternoon hours, and it's going to be picking up into some better ingredients for those storms to get stronger as those move east. So near and east of the metro is where we would be looking at the risk for hail, gusty winds, and maybe even a tornado threat if you are in some of our Iowa counties. And as I pull up, let's see. Here's a current radar that we have. You can see that we have those kind of developing in a corridor that at this point runs from roughly Kearney, with those kind of continuing to develop there, and then shuttling to the north and east toward Columbus and eventually toward the Sioux City area. Seems to be where things are at this point. That's not to say that we won't eventually get something that develops a little further to the south. And I do have in here, let me find it. I have the map that has our risks. Here we go. I'll pull this full so you get a little bit of a better view on this. So, you are looking at a 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts possible overall today with any storms that develop. You could also be looking at some 1 to 2 inch diameter hail that is possible. And then off to the east of the metro, that's where we have ingredients that could come together to give us a quick spin up in that direction. And that is mostly an afternoon risk that we are talking with those. Now, as for what we have right now we can go back to the radar and I could discuss the situation that we have with our one storm that is out there. You see, quiet near the metro, but we do have our storm off to the north and west. This currently going over Highway 81 in that area between Columbus and Humphrey. Humphrey, it's about to get noisy for you as we get these storms coming through. And this storm does have the capability that we could be putting down some quarter-sized hail in it. Here is the current view of what kind of hail we are seeing possible out of this, and where you kind of have that grayish, whitish view. That's where you're looking at the possibility to get some medium-sized hail, perhaps large hail, at the largest of that. And I did notice, as I put the radar back up, sometimes we are very careful. We're watching where we get kind of this hook set up. Let me just take a look at our velocity. This is going to be a little bit harder to see with it being so far away from the radar. But what we look for is tight greens and reds in these. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Nothing that's very alarming at this point. And you can see the hook has kind of gone away. So that's good news. We don't need to deal with any of that. At this point, looks like the main risk that we'd be looking at is for that hail that the initial warning was about. And that storm, again, heading its way north and east. So that's going to be heading toward getting into Humphrey momentarily here, and then eventually may pass just to the north of Clarkson and into southern Stanton County. If you're just joining in, this warning does go through 10 o'clock. Let's see if I can get that to move for us. There we go. Let me get rid of that one off the screen. All right, so there's our warning through 10 a.m. It's in Platte County, that storm continuing off to the north and east. Take a look here at National Weather Service here and see if we are getting any kind of reports that may be coming in with this storm. I'll pull this full screen while I am looking at this, and I will chime in if I start seeing anything. So if you're just joining in, what we are watching here is a severe thunderstorm warning, storm capable of producing quarter-sized hail. This is off to the north and west of the metro. For a little context, I'll zoom out and you can kind of get some perspective on where we're at. There is Omaha, and we are north and west of that. And this is near Columbus, just to the north, where the storm continues to make its way north and east. That warning goes through 10 p.m. for the northeastern portion of Platte County. If I freeze this, the storm seems to be losing a little bit of some structure. It's a little bit difficult to tell because this is so far from the radar. Keep in mind, radar beams kind of go up at an angle, and since this is coming from valley, we're looking way up in the storm, up in the clouds. So that makes it a little more difficult to look at some of the characteristics of this. But as I track this to the north and east, this has been moving at about 45 miles per hour. So as it continues in that direction, you are looking at Lee, Creston, Nebraska, Lee. Oh, let me undo that. Let's get that back on there with the track. All right. So, again, this is moving northeast at about 45 miles per hour or so. There we go. So we got Creston, we got Lee in that time frame before it starts to move toward the Clarkson area and eventually toward Wisner. And we'll see if it still is under a warning at that point as it moves its way into Cumming and Stanton counties. Also, may just clip the very northwestern portion there of just off to the west of Clarkson as it moves north and east. Interesting that we've got these couple of other storms now popping up. Looks like you're about to get a little noisy in Schuyler here. With this one, let's put this back into motion. And you see how this just bubbled up? You already got lightning in that. Possibility that we may try to get that one to strengthen as it moves north and east. So we can go ahead. That one does not have a warning on it, but it is strengthening pretty quickly. Let's see if there's any hail showing up with that one. Not yet. So at this point, we're still looking at just some downpours and lightning with that. But I'm nonetheless going to go ahead and track this one and show you who would be in line with this as it moves north and east. We'll just give this an estimation since our other storm's moving about 45. We'll give this about a 40 or so. And if it continues to strengthen, it would be on the path, basically knocking on Schuyler's door here shortly, and then eventually make its way toward Rogers, North Bend, and Snyder. And if it holds together, would head toward the Scribner area. Again, that one is not severe. Our severe one is the one here that is in Platte County. And I think, let me take a look at what we've got going on our Nebraska DOT camera that we've been watching. Okay, so mentioned how this storm was heading toward Tarnoff. Let me pull up that Nebraska DOT camera view. Again, this is a little bit to the north of Columbus that we are looking at. I'll take this full so you can get a better view of this. So the rain has picked up in that area on Highway 81, right around the Tarnoff area. So between Columbus and Norfolk. Just a little bit away from Humphrey is where we're looking at with this view. Again, the storm capable of producing some quarter-sized hail. Have not seen any reports of that happening just yet, but it would not at all surprise me if we are getting at least some hail based on some of the characteristics I've been seeing on radar. So we are getting possibility of getting quarter-sized hail. Also, some wind gusts are showing up with this. It's not up to severe level, but don't be surprised if you are in the line of this storm if you do get the winds picking up a fair bit as it rolls in. Let's go back to the radar. Getting a little bit interesting here with some of these to where we have that storm that is still severe warned. That warning has about another 20 minutes, though it is getting into the northeastern portions of Platte County. We'll see if this does eventually get a new warning with it as it moves north and east, or if the National Weather Service allows that to expire. I also want you to keep an eye on this storm. This is quickly strengthening right around to the north of David City and approaching Schuyler. That will likely have some pretty good downpours with it, some lightning, and let's check the hail view of that again. And yeah, that's starting to produce a little bit of some hail as well. So that storm may also end up with a warning on it. We'll keep an eye on that as the situation evolves. This is where all of our action is right now. If I zoom out, you can see the metro quiet. If you're south of the metro, you don't have anything to worry about. And all of our Iowa counties, we don't have any kind of warnings. It's just this quadrant of the area off to the north and west. So if you are in places like Schuyler, if you are closer to the West Point area up towards Stanton County, this is where this storm is heading, and you want to be ready for these to move in. We also have the second one that is strengthening and making its way north and east. So I think what we'll do here is I will just take this radar full. We will let this roll. If we get any new information that warrants me coming on here and providing another update, such as a new warning or any kind of reports of that quarter-sized hail reaching the ground, I will come back on here and provide that information. But otherwise, this will be silent. You won't hear anything, but we will leave the radar running so you can track these. All right, you may have just seen that come in. That's a new severe thunderstorm warning that is in place for, looks like, Colfax and Butler County. That's that cell we were just tracking a little bit ago. And that warning runs through 10:30. Again, we are watching for capability of this storm to produce some quarter-sized hail. When we take a look at the hail, you can see that little core that's showing up. And remember, just a little bit ago, I was talking about how a lot of times when we have these severe thunderstorm warnings and these storms are capable of quarter-sized hail, we see this little blue that's showing up, and that is what is right there. So that's the reason that warning has been issued is radar indications that we could be seeing quarter-sized hail with that storm. So again, that is southern Colfax, northeastern Butler County, where we have that warning through 10:30 for the possibility of some quarter-sized hail. Let me track this storm here and get that live. By the way, you may have also noticed our warning on Platte County has been expired, or canceled, I should say. That has moved out of Platte County and is also not as strong as it was. So we just have the one warning that has just come in. Skylar likely getting pretty noisy for you right now with that storm that has really intensified quickly here just to your south. These storm, it looks like, is moving at about 30 miles per hour. So let's track that to the north and east. And so, Skylar, you will momentarily be really seeing things pick up for you. This will eventually make its way towards Rogers, Webster, and head its way towards Snyder and Scribner here as we get about an hour away from where we're at right now. So we'll see how much this holds together as it makes its way north and east. But again, that's a new warning for Colfax and for Butler counties with this storm. Let me see what else I'm seeing out of this in National Weather Service. Let me put this into motion. We'll clear this off. All right, so there you go. There is the loop of the storms that have developed north and west of the metro. These are moving to the north and east, so away from the metro. On the very right-hand side of your screen, you can see where Omaha, Elkhorn, Blair are. So this is going to go north of us in the metro. But to our friends off to the north and west, this is something that they have to be concerned about with that potential for some quarter-sized hail. By the way, that storm that was had the previous warning that is making its way now toward Clarkson, you may still get some dime-sized hail out of that. That is the reports of what was coming in from Platte County as that made its way through the Platte Center area, was for some dime-sized hail. Of course, any other updates that we get with that, I will be sure to pass that along. While this scrolls, we'll pull this full screen, and I will work on getting you a view of the Nebraska DOT camera in this area of this new warning, so you can get the ground view of exactly what is taking place there around Schuyler. Let's see what we have for cameras. Okay, we don't have many camera options around that one, unfortunately. All right, I'm looking through the comment section. So if you do have any questions about what's going on, feel free to pop that into the comment section. Certainly, we could use some rain. This is not the ideal situation for getting that, as we'll be watching throughout the day for the possibility of some gusty winds, some hail, and as these move into Iowa, they run into better ingredients for getting even stronger and perhaps could have some tornadoes with them. So these are not exactly what we want to be picking up. Don't anticipate a tornadic outbreak in the metro, Corey. I'll pull up the risk area here for where we would see any kind of tornadoes. First of all, I only expect we get a few storms that do develop today. These are a little ahead of schedule, but get that risk map pulled up here. There we go. Okay, so notice that there's the green shading that's showing up right near the metro. That means there is a possibility for a tornado on the low end of the scale. It really runs into the better ingredients the more east you go. So as you make your way into our Iowa towns, that's where we would have a bit of a better chance to maybe get one or two to develop. More so a hail and wind threat with those as they move their way into that area. It is possible we see rain later on in the metro. That is a possibility. I do want to emphasize, though, that it's not a guarantee that everyone sees storms today. This is a setup where we get very spotty storms that have some strength. And let me real quick pull up that radar one more time with that warning so you can get an update on that, and also kind of gives you the better perspective of how things will go in general today. Quiet in the metro right now, nothing in Iowa. You have to go off to the north and west where we have a couple of storms that have developed. And I do expect this mainly ends up being a couple of storms that end up on the map that will sweep through, move their way off to the east, and then we won't have to worry about any kind of threat by the time we get to the evening hours. But right now we do have our one warning. This isn't in Colfax and Butler counties. And Schuyler, you're likely getting pretty noisy right now as those storms move in at this point. This warning is for the possibility of some quarter-sized hail as you're in the Schuyler area and off to the north and east from there. Eventually, if it holds on, it would be heading towards Snyder. But for now, a lot of the focus on the Schuyler area for that warning. Again, that warning goes through 10:30 for the potential of some hail. Let's go ahead and check out the hail view one more time. Still seeing some signs that we're putting some hail down in this one. It doesn't look quite as intense as it did, but as you're in the Schuyler area, you're going to want to make sure that you are getting into an interior room, so you're getting away from windows with that threat for quarter-sized hail moving into the Schuyler area. Haven't had any new reports come in, it doesn't look like. All right, let's put that loop back up. There's our radar loop. And the way this is kind of moving, kind of almost getting a little more of an easterly trend to it. So let's do another track on this. We'll put it still. There we go. Seeing signs with this one that it may start to turn a little more to an easterly direction, maybe just north of east. So with that in mind, let's do maybe more of a track like this, moving at about 30 miles per hour. So that would put this online kind of to follow or to go just north of Highway 30, talking about Rogers, North Bend, eventually, if it holds together, towards Scribner, as we would make our way toward 1045. Again, the warning only lasts through 1030 with that potential for some quarter-sized hail, but likely pretty noisy in the Schuyler area right now. Check back into the comment section. people wondering about whether they need to be putting their vehicles in shelter. Look, this is one of those situations where there's just some spotty storms that are around. So I can't tell you with 100% certainty that it will hail, but I do want to warn you that there is a possibility that there's hail with these storms as they develop and sweep their way east. So that's certainly something you could do, is put your vehicle in a garage if you have that option as we head through the rest of the day. Right now in the metro, it is quiet. There's nothing close to the metro. You don't need to worry about that at this point. But you do need to be concerned if you're in the Schuyler area, where we could be getting a possibility of some quarter-sized hail showing up there. Let me put this back into motion. There's our storm there. Our storm that just swept its way out of Clarkson, by the way, that could be putting down some dime-sized hail. There could be a decent amount of some hail falling out of that one. So if you are maybe into southern Stanton County, into Cumming County, if you're in the West Point area, be ready for a storm that could be putting down a fair amount of small hail. That will continue to head its way toward Wisner. If you're in the areas of Beamer, keep that in mind that you may have a fair amount of some small hail that starts falling. That storm is not severe. We do have a storm that is severe right about over Schuyler at this point. You're probably getting some downpours with this too. I don't want that aspect to be lost, that we are looking at lightning. We're looking at some pretty heavy rainfall with some of these, in addition to having the possibility of some quarter-sized hail. If there's anyone in this chat that's in the Schuyler area, let me know what you're seeing. Unfortunately, we don't have Nebraska DOT cameras in the Schuyler region, so we don't really have a good view of exactly what is happening there that I can pull up. But as I stop this, there's the current view right overhead in Schuyler. Very heavy rain in that. Pretty good amount of lightning that's heading toward Linwood. North Bend, it's likely going to start raining very quickly if it's not already. And it'll get pretty noisy here in the short term too. Here is the current hail estimation. So you're still seeing a little bit showing up in that one right over Schuyler. And possibility you can see just a little bit of a blue speck still showing up in that. That's one of the things I look for when we're tracking a hail situation. If you see that, that's a sign that you may be getting some of that larger hail showing up in these. So that is something you need to be prepared for if you're in the Schuyler area or just upstream of Schuyler, Rogers, North Bend. Eventually, this will get closer to the Scribner area. But be prepared for the possibility of some large hail to be falling out of this storm. There's the current view of the radar. Again, this is well to the north and west of the metro at this point. If you are curious, there is not a severe thunderstorm watch at this point. These are the two storms that we have at this point. And this is the sort of situation we're probably going to be looking at through the day. It's just a couple of storms that develop, make their way north and east. And then as those make their way out, things should calm down. The best ingredients for these storms will be into Iowa. The further east these get, the more those could strengthen and have a risk for producing more than just hail. Some gusty winds, perhaps even a tornado in parts of Iowa. And the further east into Iowa those get, the higher that risk becomes. For the time being, let me give you a reminder of the risk for the rest of today. And there it is. So again, some hail, some gusty winds that will be possible as we make our way through with these couple of storms. Again, not everybody's going to get storms, but we do have the chance for a couple of these to develop today. And then as you get east of the metro, that's where the tornado risk comes in. And I would say it's maybe one or two that would develop at most out of this. Certainly want to keep tabs on this as it continues to evolve. I think what we'll do, we'll pull the radar back up again. I will take a look and see if we're getting any more reports with the storm that is warranted the severe thunderstorm warning. This storm now directly overhead in Schuyler. We're almost getting a little bit of some congealing of the storms there happening there to the north and west of the metro. And that southern storm now, they're saying, is capable of maybe getting some $1.25 sized hail. So we'd be talking about getting maybe some $0.50 size hail out of that. It doesn't look like we're getting much for wind out of this. So it's all about the hail risk that we're talking about as these continue to the north and to the east. Those are moving about 30 miles per hour at this time. So I think with this, just like we did before, I will pull the radar full screen. I will mute the microphone. And if we get anything else for an update that would warrant me popping back on here and providing commentary, maybe we get a new warning, maybe we cancel this warning, or we get some new reports of some hail sizes, I'll be back on here with that. But see a question asking about Tequema's risk. This would be eventually heading toward the Tequema area. You may end up just on the south side of this, but it's definitely bears watching if you are in the Tequema area. You can see if I zoom out that these are generally moving north and east, so that would put it pretty close to Tequema with that hail risk right now. So keep an eye on this. We'll continue to track this, but let me zoom this back in. With that possibility, we'll see if we get a new warning here for the North Bend, Scribner areas. This is starting to make its way into your area. How about that? There's our new warning. So we could pull that up. All right, so this is a new warning through 11 this morning, and that for Dodge County. And it is for the possibility of quarter-sized hail once again. So that is our warning that we have. Again, that's for Dodge County. That's our new warning that just popped it up as the storm starts to move east of Schuyler and head toward the North Bend area and eventually heads towards Hooper, Nickerson, and Winslow. So let's go ahead with that new warning and track this out. Zoom out a little bit here. And I will put this still. And we'll go ahead and get a track on this. Let me take a look and see what our speed on this one is estimated, if we've slowed down or picked up speed. Looks like we're moving at about 35 still, so this is off to the north and east. Okay, so here we go. We go northeast. I'd say roughly about this is probably a good track for this. So again, Scribner, this will be heading your way here shortly. And then also in line for this Winslow. If you're in the Hooper area, you'll want to be moving toward interior room, get away from those windows. And then also as you get toward Winslow and eventually Ewing, you'll look at this heading your way. This warning goes through 11 a.m., so that is what you need to be watching out for. Let me pull that radar back up. Again, if you are curious, this is off to the north and west of the metro where we are seeing these storms. Nothing else has developed near the metro or south. It's all what's happening off to the north and west. So we'll go ahead and take this full, and I will silence this, and we will go ahead and mute this, but we'll keep this radar rolling. All right, so we've been tracking this severe thunderstorm warning. We currently have just a corner of Colfax and Butler counties in the warning. The bulk of the storm now in Dodge County. At this point, that Dodge County warning goes through 11, and that is for the possibility of some quarter-sized hail. I don't want you to lose sight of the fact that we could get some pretty heavy rain falling out of these, and we are seeing that take place on the camera right around the Rogers area. So what I want to do here is pull that DOT camera full here in just a moment. So this would be impacting anyone who is on Highway 30 there in Dodge County. There is our current view. You can see how that rain is really coming down. Not any kind of flooding or anything, but it is going to be a quick downpour that you experience. And you can see how heavy that rain is. May have a little bit of some hail mixing in with that too. So for anyone who is traveling in that area, be aware of that. I also want to emphasize at this point, it is quiet in the metro, and we are getting close to 11 o'clock. Now, I don't think we should have too many areas. That's usually the first week of the month that we have that. But if you do happen to hear any outdoor sirens getting tested through the course of the morning, it is a test. Aside from our one severe thunderstorm warning that we do have there in Dodge County. That's the only spot right now that has a warning of any kind. Again, I do have the comment section pulled up. So again, you're watching the Highway 30 Nebraska DOT camera right near Rogers, Nebraska, where we have the rain really coming down right now. And there is a severe thunderstorm warning in that area of Dodge County through 11 for quarter-sized hail possible. You're very welcome, Elizabeth. Love being able to get on here and kind of ease nerves or answer any questions that anyone may have about the situation. So, Corey, the main time frame we were looking at for these storms to develop was about 1 to 6 p.m. We're running a little ahead of schedule, and we'll see if that ends up affecting the atmosphere for any of these storms. Let me pull the radar back up. We can always go back to that Nebraska DOT camera. The problem we have here is that we have a front that's over the area. I see a few questions about how the atmosphere gets affected by this. So we have a boundary that is in place, and that's kind of been causing some of the weird weather we've had over the last 24 hours or so. And where that boundary is going and how things are kind of taking shape as a result of that will kind of ultimately dictate this. Certainly for a couple of hours, things could potentially calm down out of this. If you're in the Schuyler area, Columbus, where you've had these storms roll through. But what I do want to caution with that is look what's happening off to the west. You've got some more showers and storms that are already trying to pop up around the Kearney area. So this is a really complicated setup with the boundary being there, some of these storms that are fired up. Is there any outflow that comes out of these storms and tries to start up new ones? It's just a very complicated setup. So I would just say at this point, don't let your guard down. Again, we're not looking at widespread storms out of anything today, but there could be a couple that get some strength to them. I think this storm will pass just to the north view and Blair there. It's going to be close, but I do believe this is more on a path to head at least a little bit closer to Tacoma. Tacoma, if you're going to need to keep a close eye on this, because I think this will be coming close to you, maybe just to your south, with the core of that storm in Tacoma. Let me one more time. Here, we'll freeze this. Let's check in on our hail situation. And it looks like we're still getting some hail estimations out of this storm that are approaching that quarter size area. So we're going to need to continue to watch this for that possibility that things could be intense with the hail out of that. Certainly plenty of rain coming out of these, and we've got some lightning as well. And while we have this radar full, I will go ahead and check out and see if we got any reports. Did get a report of quarter-sized hail in Schuyler, so that did verify with that as it was over Schuyler with that report of quarter-sized hail. A couple of reports of that. So this has a history now of producing quarter-sized hail and continues to move to the east. We'll go ahead and do a track on this here in just a moment. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. This has been moving at about 35 miles per hour at an east to northeast motion. So we'll go ahead and give you the latest on where this is heading. So here's the current motion of this. You see how that's just kind of going almost straight northeast, if not a little bit of a more of an east component to it. So what I'll do here is we'll go ahead and use this since it's kind of got this shape going on. And then we'll track that to the north and east, about 35 miles per hour or so. All right, so again, you're looking at that getting pretty close to the upper area here over the next 5 minutes or so. You'll likely start to be hearing some thunder if you haven't already in Hooper. And then if you are near Winslow, you're not far behind. And then this will, that's at least the leading edge of that, will continue toward the Herman area there between Blair and Tacoma. Go ahead and clear this off now. And I can zoom in a little bit more and give you some other locations here. Winslow, you're going to get some storms out of this. The core of this will likely go just to the north of Nickerson, but you will hear the thunder and get some rain out of that. And it will eventually make its way here into western parts of Washington and Burt counties. And the way it's been trending, this will likely still have a punch with it as it gets into that area. All sorts of lightning with this. Some pretty heavy downpours as well. And we've been looking at the possibility of getting some quarter-sized hail, too, out of this. And that has happened in Schuyler. All right, back in motion with this. Then we'll zoom out a little bit. If you're in the metro, no concerns right now. Again, this is off to the north and west of the metro where we're getting this severe weather. A storm that has a history of producing quarter-sized hail in the Schuyler area, and it continues to move to the north and east through Dodge County. Dodge County, that severe thunderstorm warning you see, that goes through 11 this morning. So we've got about another 40 minutes as that continues to move its way north and east, going just to the north of Fremont. Let me see. I know there is a Nebraska DOT camera in Fremont. Let's see if maybe that is showing anything at this point. Alexis, as we go through the rest of the afternoon, you're not at risk in the metro with these particular storms, so we'll just have to watch and see if anything else can form as we go into the early afternoon. We'll still have that risk for a couple of storms, but not with these particular ones that we're tracking right now. All right, so I can give you a view from Fremont of some of these storms. This is not... You can kind of see some of the gray skies and some darkness on the horizon. It's not a particularly thrilling camera view, though, so I think we'll skip that for now. Let's see if maybe around the North Bend or Rogers area looks a little bit better. Or more interesting, I should say. This at least gives you an idea of... on the back side of this storm, you can see it's just about, still storming pretty good in North Bend. This camera's a little west of North Bend, so this will give you an idea of what it's looking like just as that heaviest of the storms is starting to move out. And you can see how wet the roads are there as you are around the Rogers area to the west of North Bend. So still raining pretty good. Certainly, we need the rain. We'd like to get it without having hail as well. Would be an ideal situation, but remember, if you're driving through the rain, you want to make sure you are turning your headlights on. Something that I see often as I'm doing traffic reports here and get disappointed to see. That is something that you need to be doing. Make sure your headlights are on if it is raining. You may need the wipers going at a pretty good speed if you're heading east from that camera, which is there in the area just to the west of North Bend. Let's go back to radar. Appreciate everyone who's joined in as we track storms a little bit ahead of schedule. We were expecting those about 1 to 6 p.m. with our first Alert 6 weather day. That was issued last night. If you maybe didn't miss, you maybe missed that notification that was issued by Matt Serwi last night. He was seeing these storms kind of starting to come together on models a little bit more, and we have kept that going forward today with what we're seeing on the radar. And you can see that we already have a couple of storms that are strong. You know, one right over West Point at this point. That may be putting down some small hail in West Point. Also some downpours and some lightning with these as those roll their way through parts of our viewing area to the north and west. It doesn't look like there's quite as much lightning with that in West Point. There's still a little bit that's showing up, but that has lost a little bit of some strength. Still plenty of lightning with this southern storm, which is the one that has the severe thunderstorm warning through 11, and that is for the potential to have some quarter-sized hail with it. And also have some quarter-sized hail reported in Rogers, there in Colfax County. So this has had, over the last about 20 minutes or so, a history of putting down some quarter-sized hail. When I stop this and pull up our hail view, we're still getting that showing up with that blue. That's an indication it's a pretty large hail. So Winslow, Hupper, be ready for some large hail in your area here, just about to start up. Get away from your windows if you are in Winslow and Hupper. And if you are a little bit downstream of this storm, if you're in places like Herman or Takema, keep close tabs on this and start thinking about what you'll do if you do have the storm knocking on your door with that capability of at least quarter-sized hail. That's looking a little more intense here now with some of that hail showing up there in Dodge County. Let's put the radar back up, put it in motion. And I think at this point we will again just take the radar full and have it rolling without sound for a little while. And as we've done a couple of times already, if I see any information that comes in, any new warnings, any new reports that we need to talk about, I will put the audio back up. So this will be silent for a little bit, but you can watch the radar as these storms continue to roll through the area north and west of the metro. All right, just popping back on here with a quick update on what we're getting for reports for hail. This warning in Dodge County was originally issued for the possibility of some quarter-sized hail. We had been seeing that consistently from about Schuyler over to Rogers. Now has a confirmed half-dollar sized hail report. So first alert to that, we are seeing the hail get a little bit larger as this moves toward Hupper and Winslow. You are really going to want to be aware that you are looking at some pretty large hail heading towards you. Hupper, you're in the middle of it right now. It's probably pretty noisy with all the lightning that you're seeing there. The thunder being the noise part of that, of course. But heavy rainfall, some hail. You're looking at a pretty intense storm over you there in eastern Dodge County. And I am not going to be surprised here in the next few minutes if we do get warnings issued there for Burt and western Washington, the way this storm is behaving. With that confirmed report of half-dollar sized hail, it's probably just a matter of time that we see a new warning issued. And again, it is just hail we are looking at this point. That is the threat that we have, is hail. Not concerned at this time anyway that we would have any kind of other problems pop up. But again, we'll stand by. If we do get a new warning, which I do anticipate happening shortly for Burt or Washington counties with the recent trends on this. Let me pull the hail. Yeah, you can see how that has that deep blue showing up. That's large hail that is happening. That is right over Hupper. I hope if you're in Hupper or Winslow, you are away from windows and into an interior room away from where you would be experiencing that large hail that is very likely coming down in that storm. But we'll continue to have this roll with the radar. And again, I will come back on here with audio if there are any important updates. I am keeping an eye on the chat, and Chase, I see you're saying there is hail in Hupper. If you can safely do that and give me an estimation on what kind of size we're looking at with that, it's likely some pretty large hail. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, by all means, do not do that. I'd rather you be safe, but likely looking at some pretty large hail with that as that's rolling through your area, and that would back up some of the warning language that we're looking at with this moving through Dodge County. I'm also seeing there is some possibility that we are getting a watch of some kind shortly. Storm Prediction Center putting it at a 40% chance for a watch. At this point, that would mainly be for large hail. But as this continues on, there is a possibility eventually, as this gets further to the east, that we maybe get some stronger winds or even perhaps a spin up off to the east of the metro. All about the large hail right now. We've been getting reports of quarter to half-dollar sized hail all the way back to Schuyler. This continues to move through eastern Dodge County at this point. And I do anticipate, based on some of what we've been seeing, we may soon get a warning for northwestern Washington and into southern Burt County. We'll keep an eye out for that. And, of course, I'll let you know if we do end up with that warning. Getting some reports of some hail, again, out of the Hupper area. So like we will pull this radar full screen, and I will be back on if there is any significant update. Again, I am keeping an eye on the chat. I see another question about Blair and risk level. It looks like this will go just to the north of Blair with these storms, though we are starting to tack on a little bit of some activity on the south side. We'll keep an eye on that. At this point, it looks like the strongest of the storms will go just north of Blair. If you're in the Tacoma area, though, you'll want to keep close eye on this. This looks like it's heading toward you, and there's our new severe thunderstorm warning that I've been anticipating. Let's talk about the details on that while we are live here. So again, what we're looking at is a new severe thunderstorm warning. As anticipated, it is for portions of Washington and Burt County. Let's kind of center this up a little bit more. We have a history of seeing some quarter to half-dollar sized hail out of this storm, so this really does not surprise me. It does include the Tacoma area, and it is for possibility of half-dollar sized hail showing up. This is a storm that is moving to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. That warning goes through 11:30. So with this storm, what you have going on is we've been seeing just continuing to get reports of some large hail showing up. In the Winslow area, you're getting reports from trained weather spotters of quarter-sized hail just to the north of Winslow out of this. So again, not at all surprised to see this get reissued further to the east with this storm. This has been a troublemaker and continues to be a troublemaker as it moves north and east. So let's go ahead and track this. Again, if you're in Tacoma, this is your time to seek shelter. I know we had some questions there in the live stream in the live stream chat a little while ago about the threat chance for Tacoma. This has made its way into your neighborhood here. It's knocking on your door. So you will want to get into an interior room, get away from windows. In Tacoma, you're likely going to see this roll in about 15 minutes or so. Also, Herman area. Eventually, if it holds together, it will head toward the Little Sioux area and into Harrison County. That's a little bit down the line from this, but you would be looking at that in your area if this holds together. But certainly we do have a pretty strong storm that's in place here that is exiting Dodge County still, giving some pretty nasty weather to the Winslow area. Hupper, you're still in it, but it is now into the northwestern corner of Washington County. Will eventually make its way into Herman and make its way into southern Burt County and head toward Tacoma. If I pull up the hail estimation, not as intense as we were looking at. That backs up very well with what we were getting report-wise. We were getting some reports of half-dollar sized hail. The latest just north of Winslow was quarter-sized hail. Still the potential that we could get up to a half-dollar sized hail as this moves its way toward Tacoma. So first alert to that, if you are in portions of southern Burt County, the northern part of Washington County, you want to be getting away from windows, get into an interior room. It's hail that is the concern at this point with these storms and not any other risks right now. Let's go ahead and pull the radar back up. We'll keep an eye on the south side of this and how that continues to strengthen there just north of Fremont. If there was going to be any risk for Blair, it would be for anything that would tack on the south side of this. Right now we're good, but I'll keep you posted if that changes. And if I zoom out, you can see all of the activity in our viewing area is in this quadrant to the north and northwest of the metro. We'll keep an eye out to the west. A little activity out there. Nothing that looks all that strong, though. So this is the bulk of what we've got going on. And I would say based on what we've got, this is maybe where we're going to see the bulk of our activity today. I want to look a little bit more into the details, but the fact that we've gotten all this storm activity and based on what I was seeing earlier on models, this would line up with being how things would transpire. And then as we get later on in the day, things should quiet down. But for now, you do still have that severe thunderstorm warning in the eastern part of Dodge County through 11 and into northern Washington and southern Burt. That does include Tacoma, Herman, through 11:30. So you're looking at that possibility of hail, but you're also looking at downpours and you're looking at a lot of lightning showing up out of this. We'll pull this full screen. I'll see if I can find a DOT camera that might work for us to get a view of what's going on with this as it moves from Dodge County toward Burt County. Not seeing too much on the Nebraska DOT cameras just yet. We'll keep an eye on that, and I'll update you that changes at all. Like we've been doing, I'll one more time check the comment section, make sure that there aren't any questions that have popped in here. We do these live streams. We're trying to make sure that we are answering any of your questions. You're very welcome for that. You had that concern in the Blair area. Again, just keep an eye on that southern end of that storm. I will be watching. It looks like that will miss you just to the north. It's going to be a close call, but I think it will be to your north. And then any other questions that anyone has, feel free to put those in the comments. I'll be keeping a close eye on that. And we'll go back to just having the radar roll with no sound. If any significant developments happen, I will come back on and give you the update. So, getting on here once again, I've been watching the radar, and something I'm noticing is a big uptick in the amount of lightning showing up in this. Might be a sign that this is strengthening once again, as it is making its way into southern Burt and northern Washington counties. We've been watching this storm closely now for a little over an hour, where we've been looking at a history of quarter to half-dollar sized hail all the way back to Schuyler, now moving toward Tacoma. And if I pull up the hail, you can see, once again, there's that blue spot that we watch closely for in the hail estimation as a sign that we could be looking at a storm that is capable of putting down some quarter to half-dollar sized hail. So if you are in the Herman area or Tacoma, you want to be getting into an interior room, get away from windows. This is a storm that's pretty nasty and capable of putting down some large hail in that area. So keep an eye out for that. You want to make sure you are seeking an area away from windows with that large hail risk. Also, you've got a lot of lightning with this, some heavy downpours in this area of Burt County as well. And I'm going to work on finding a DOT camera again. I started doing that, and we got the new warning as I was looking. So let me try that again. Nothing on the camera in Tacoma just yet. This is still a little to the west, but I do expect things to pick up for you in Tacoma in short order. Likely going to be getting some lightning happening here shortly, and followed shortly by some pretty heavy rainfall. Does look like the strongest part of the storm may just go just to the south of Tacoma. It's going to be still pretty stormy in Tacoma, but that hail core may just miss you to the south. Something to keep in mind, though, if you are in Tacoma, you are close enough that I would want to be in shelter and away from windows with the history this has of producing some pretty large hail. Herman, you want to definitely be away from windows because you are right in the track for where this will be passing. And I think given the fact that this has strengthened a little bit more, let me turn the lightning layer off so we can see that storm a little bit better. Certainly there's plenty of lightning, but I want to track this storm for you. And for those of you who are maybe in Harrison County or into Monona County, give you an idea of how long it will be till it's in your neighborhood. And that's a bad track. Let me try that again. Just kind of go right along the storm here. And this has been moving. I believe 45 was our latest speed update on this. This will be right around the Herman area when we likely will see some of this large hail coming down here shortly. Looks like it is about 45 for that last estimate, so we'll do about here. I would say about there. So again, Herman, you should be in shelter right now for large hail risk. So get into an interior room. This thing has been has a long history of producing some quarter-sized hail and has occasionally flared up and has produced some half-dollar sized hail at times, and I would not be surprised if that's happening right now. Eventually, this will make its way toward Little Sioux, Pisgah, and into the Moorhead and Ute areas if it continues to hold together, and then it would be moving into very eastern Monona County at that point. This warning does go through 11:30. I would expect this has been moving very quickly. So if you are in southern Monona County, northern Harrison County, you may want to start thinking about seeking shelter. You will probably end up with a severe thunderstorm warning if this continues its current strength for any length of time here. It's a pretty nasty storm, so it would have to weaken a fair amount, I think, before we would have to be in the clear for those counties. So again, northern Monona, or southern Monona and northern Harrison counties, I would be getting away from some windows with this one starting to approach the Highway 75 corridor right now and eventually make its way over into those counties. So I've pulled up the hail estimation here once again. That's some nasty hail that's showing up. That could be a lot of hail showing up or large hail. Based on the history of what we've been seeing with this, I would not at all be surprised if we're getting some more half-dollar sized hail out of that as it's rolling its way into the Herman area. Let me zoom in a little tighter. So this is just going to skims Herman with the largest of that hail. So again, if you're in Herman, if you're in Takema, you're in Little Sioux, or maybe even Mondayman, you're probably going to be just on the south side of this. But if you're in Little Sioux, certainly you want to be getting into an interior room with the possibility that this is putting down some pretty large hail with it. You've also got some really heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning that's showing up with these storms. They have a history of all three of those things and continue to do that as they move north and east. If you're just joining in, first of all, thanks for watching. Appreciate that. We're just trying to make sure that you're up to date on everything that's going on. And so with that, let me give you some context as to where we're seeing these storms. Everything has been north and northwest of the metro so far this morning. We do have had a storm that started to get some strong capabilities with it just to the north of Columbus. It started to get reports of quarter-sized hail near Schuyler and has continued that all the way through Dodge County now into portions of northern Washington, southern Burt County. So I saw a comment there with the Plattsmouth area. You are in the clear right now. Nothing in the metro. It's calm in the metro. You don't have to worry about anything in the metro. This is up near the Takema and Herman areas. The core of that hail is showing up just in between Herman and Takema. There you could see it. So, Elizabeth, you're in Takema. I would be in an interior room. I know that the brightest colors with that are showing up closer to Herman, but you still have some of that showing up. It's about to make its way into Takema. I would seek shelter for that. It is hail only that we have, but it's some pretty large hails that's showing up there on the estimation. So either in Takema or in Herman, I would get away from any windows with that large hail looking likely with that. You've also got some pretty heavy rainfall, lots of lightning, and I did have a camera pulled up. Ooh, yes. Let's take this Nebraska DOT camera that is near Takema, and this is going to give you a really good idea of what this rain and storm in general are looking like. So we're just near Takema with this that you'll see here in just a moment. All right, here we go. So some pretty decent rainfall happening. This is just a little north of Takema, so this is further to the north of where the strongest part of this storm is, but you can see how the rain coming down at a pretty good clip. And just south of this is where you're looking at that hail happening. All right, let's go back to the radar. All right, so there's our full picture. Again, if you're in the metro, no concerns right now. Everything is to the north. And there we have a new warning. I was saying that we would likely get a new warning with this one. Let me pull this full screen and give you the information on this. Another severe thunderstorm warning, and this does include Harrison and Monona, southern Monona, northern Harrison, and this warning lasts through noon. You noticed when I was showing you that hail estimating tool that it was getting some pretty bright colors on it. That's a size that the hail size is increasing. Possibility of golf ball size hail now showing up with this as it's moving toward Monona and Harrison County. So Little Sioux, you want to be getting away from any kind of windows. Get indoors if you are not. And this storm moving to the north and east at about 40 miles per hour. This is going to go right over I-29 here shortly, so you're going to be looking at some pretty limited visibility as well. If you're traveling that stretch from around Mondayman through Blencoe on I-29, there's our intense storm that has sparked off a new severe thunderstorm warning for that part of northern Harrison and southern Monona. So, again, currently over the Herman and Takema areas. It's likely pretty active in those areas right now. We were just seeing that DOT camera to the north of the Takema area with the heavy rainfall, but you also have some hail that's happening to the south. And again, if I pull up that hail estimation tool, notice how it's got that kind of blue and purple tinge. That's why you're seeing that hail size increase in the mention on the warning, is that it's looking a little more intense with this now, with the possibility of some golf ball sized hail as you are getting in between Takema and Herman. There's a tighter view, lots of lightning, very heavy rainfall with this as it's moving through southern Burt County and the very northern reaches of Washington County. But heading into the northwest corner of Harrison, and you are looking at a possibility of golf ball sized hail with that. Not getting any new reports that have come in out of this, but I would imagine you're getting some pretty large hail there if you are near Herman, particularly north of Herman. The core of that is looking pretty nasty there on Highway 75. We'll put this back in motion and zoom out a little so you get the full scope of that storm. Also, I'm going to turn the lightning layer off. Just know there's a lot of lightning, but I want you to be able to see that radar a little bit better. Very intense rain with that. Notice how that color there to the south of Takema is almost peaking there on the color scale. Had some questions from Blair. Blair, you're probably hearing some thunder. Let's put that lightning back on. Okay, you're looking at some downpours in the Blair area, but it does look like you're avoiding the strongest part of that storm. You should hold off any kind of lightning, or any kind of hail, I should say. You may get a couple of rumbles of thunder in the Blair area, but you're avoiding the strongest of it. It's to your north there, near Takema and Herman. All right, again, we'll put this back in motion. I will keep this full screen. I'll mute the sound, and if there's any updates with reports or anything else, I will bring those to you. Real quick, did just get a new report that is confirmed quarter-sized hail just to the north of Herman. So it is putting down that large hail still at this point. All right, continue to watch the radar. And again, if you were just joining in, we've got a couple of, we've had one really storm that has been strong to severe all the way back to the western edge of our area. It started back to the north of Columbus and has continued off to the east-northeast across from Schuyler area to where it is now. They're entering northern Harrison County, and through that whole stretch, it's been putting down at least quarter-sized hail. Possibility that we could get some hail that is even a little larger with this, as it is crossing the Missouri River right now. Likely some pretty nasty visibility about to be in place on I-29 between Mondamon and Blencoe. So storms move their way right over the interstate. So be aware that that is what we've got going on. Possibility of up to golf ball sized hail. The latest report was for some quarter sized hail that was showing up in the Herman area. But certainly if you're in Little Sioux, I hope you're in an interior room getting away from this hail risk that you've got moving in. Mondamon, it's going to be pretty noisy for you too. You've got the rain picking up. Could be some lightning with that as well. And further down, the downstream from this, if you're in Pisgah, be ready for the storms to roll in here within the next 15 minutes or so. And head toward Moorhead there in southern Monona County as well. That warning goes through 11:30 for that risk for the large hail. So what you're looking at, that is our estimation on our hail with this. And as you can see, if you're in the Little Sioux area, you are looking at quite the flare up there on the estimated hail. Now, this can either be a lot of hail all falling at once or the hail size itself. The estimated hail that we're seeing in the warning from the National Weather Service is that we could be getting some ping pong ball sized hail coming out of this in northern Harrison County. So, as you're making your way through the Little Sioux area, if you're on I-29, you've got quite the storm going on overhead at this point. Lots of lightning along with that hail and some pretty heavy downpours as well. It's continuing to make its way to the north and east. We've seen some backfill down into central, I guess, western Harrison County. Put this back in motion and get an idea how this has evolved. We started to get a little activity that was firing up there on the south side of it, just north of Blair. Not too strong with that part of the storm, but you could see that part that is there right over Little Sioux and making its way into Pisgah. It's pretty strong. You've got quite the hail showing up with that, some downpours and some lightning. So this is the part that is the strongest. If I zoom fully out, you will see that everything else in the viewing area is pretty quiet. Just a couple of showers that are showing up there back to the southwest of Columbus. We'll keep an eye on that. It's starting to show a little strengthening with that. Nothing that's all that strong at this point. But, of course, the focus mainly on what's going on off to the north, where we do have that warning through 11:30 for northern Harrison County and southern Monona County. Certainly going to be hearing the thunder picking up there in Moorhead. Eventually, this will start to make its way there toward the Dunlap area as well. I'll check one more time here, see if we're getting any new reports that have come in with these. Does not look like anything has come in. The last report we had was for some quarter-sized hail just to the north of Herman. That is about 20 minutes ago or so. But again, that's that storm that originated back near Columbus. It's been putting down quarter-sized hail or larger off and on all the way back to Schuyler. Still doing that as it has made its way into northern Harrison County as well. And if I turn off the lightning here, just put the radar on, look at how intense that rain is showing up with that as it makes its way into that part of the viewing area. It is pouring rain there in northern Harrison County. That will make its way eventually into southern Monona County. So we'll put this radar back full once again, as we've been doing. No, there won't be sound, but if anything does pop up that will be worthy of an update, we will come back on here and update you on that. just want to real quick pop up here and give you a quick update on our total scenario here. And this is what we're seeing throughout our area. Notice that the metro is quiet. There's nothing that is at risk at this point in the metro to the south. In much of Nebraska, things have calmed down. We've got a couple of little showers there that have shown up there into Polk County. We'll keep an eye on that to the north of Stromsburg, but nothing that looks all that severe at this point or even strong. It's just this one. This is our troublemaker that has been sweeping all the way from back near Schuyler with some quarter-sized hail and is still capable of some pretty large hail even at this point, and still a pretty bright signature there for some large hail or a lot of hail in general showing up there in northern Harrison County. That warning goes through 11:30 as that now making its way out of the Little Sioux area. Still some pretty heavy rain and some lightning in Little Sioux, but the core of that storm now is making its way over Pisgah, and that will continue to the north and east, head its way toward the Dunlap area. Moorhead, you're going to be on the north side, or yes, you will be on the north side of this storm. You're going to get a lot of lightning and some downpours, and likely just miss out on having to deal with that very large hail that's showing up there to your south. So, looks like this sweeps through a rather rural area here of northern Harrison County here for a little bit. If you're in Dunlap, you'll want to keep tabs on this. And then over toward the Dow City area eventually, that will head toward you. And it heads toward Denison at that point. So there is the wide view. Have not had any reports come in for a little bit with this storm of any kind of hail size updates. Still have a possibility showing up of maybe getting some $half sized hail with that as it moves across northern Harrison County. This is also starting to get a little bit further away from the radar as it moves into Monona and eventually Crawford County. That's getting a fair distance away from the radar, so it does get a little more difficult to see the exact features of how this storm is continuing to evolve. But watch for that still packing a pretty good punch as it moves through northern Harrison County. Plenty of rain, plenty of lightning, and the possibility of some large hail alongside that. If you're wondering, there are no watches at this point. This is the only problem that we have right now is this one storm that has rolled its way across areas north of the metro, continuing to do so, and will eventually make its way there toward Denison, likely over the next hour or so. It will head in the path of Denison, Dow City, Dunlap, also in the path of that. So if you are in Crawford County, you happen to be watching, you will want to be aware that that is something that you will need to seek shelter, get away from some interior rooms with that. And we'll continue to watch for maybe a storm or two aside from this that tries to develop this afternoon. At this point, doesn't look like we have all that much that is showing up, but maybe the atmosphere gets a chance to recover a little bit and we start to get some stronger ones to develop again as we get later on in the day. But for now, it's all about that one that's rolling through northern Harrison and southern Monona. Moorhead probably getting pretty noisy for you right now. Got pretty good swath of rain and some lightning that just made its way through Magnolia. That will continue to head toward Woodbine and Dunlap here in the short term. That warning again goes through 11:30 for those areas. Okay, Pisgah just got a report just to the south of Pisgah of some ping pong ball size hail, estimated size. So still putting down some pretty large hail with this one. This is, if you're wondering where Pisgah is, we're right in this area, so it was just a little to the south. Likely likely right about on the edge of that box is where we ended up with this. I'd say that report probably came in roughly around this area, which would have been right under that core of that.
So since this is still putting down that kind of hail,
likely that we'll probably get a new warning with this for the Crawford County area as that moves its way north and east. That would be coming from the National Weather Service office in Des Moines. They have the jurisdiction over Crawford County. We'll see if that happens here in the next 10 minutes. I would anticipate that probably will get issued in about 5 minutes or so time. We'll continue to track it, and any updates that do come through that are worth noting, we will bring that to you live. Pretty impressive estimation on the hail that's showing up there northwest of Woodbine. We have seen this kind of move into an area that is a little more rural in Harrison County, just to the east of Pisgah. Eventually heading toward Dunlap, though. Dunlap, Dow City, Denison, you're all in the path of this as it lifts north and east, and that's not what you want to be seeing on the hail estimation. That could either mean that we're looking at a lot of hail that is falling all at once, or that we are looking at large hail that is showing up. Recent reports from the Pisgah area show anywhere from quarter to $half size, even ping pong ball sized hail being reported from near Pisgah. So that's something you could reasonably expect as this lifts its way north and east. You've got all kinds of lightning with that as it is moving north and east as well. And again, this is starting to move a little bit further away from the radar at this point, so we're going to be starting to get into an area where it doesn't have a great view of it as it moves into Crawford County. I would anticipate we may get a new severe thunderstorm warning in Crawford County as that moves north and east. Stand by for that. I would expect that happens here within the next 5 minutes or so. But certainly some heavy rainfall, some strong storms there as this continues lifting to the north and east. There is our new warning for Crawford County. Let's go ahead and give you the details on that. That goes through noon. Also includes a portion of Audubon, the very far northeastern part of Audubon. We'll see if maybe a sliver of Shelby County gets added to this around the Defiance area. But right now, this is all Crawford and into very northwestern Audubon. Goes through noon. Again, looking at a large hail possibility up to golf ball size hail. We've also seen an addition of a mention of possibility of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and I'm not terribly surprised by that either. Here is what I'm seeing. Notice how that's just kind of getting that little bend to it a little bit. That's where we could start to get some gusts associated with that. So mainly a hail risk, but don't be caught off guard if you also get some pretty strong wind gusts as this lifts north and east as well. So this is mostly moving east to northeast. We'll put a track on this. That's about what we'd be looking at. We're not quite zoomed out far enough to get it fully accurate. So something along these lines is what you could look at for timeline. Give or take about 5 minutes on either side of this for what we're looking at, but it's basically at Woodbine right now. We'll be getting into the Dunlap area here within about 10 minutes. Not far behind that is Dow City. Eventually, this will make its way toward Denison. So, first alert if you are heading into the Crawford County area. This has a history of producing some large hail with it, and you are going to want to be seeking shelter for this. And now we have the other aspect of this warning I've been expecting. That does include parts of Shelby County, and even a little bit of northeastern Harrison. Again, this goes through 1215 for those areas. You're a little bit more on the immediate front of this, so no surprise with that. Could be seeing anywhere from ping pong to golf ball sized hail with that as it moves north and east. So pretty much over Woodbine right now, and you will continue to see that head toward Defiance and some of the other towns that I was naming off, like Dow City, Dunlap, Denison. You are in the path of that storm that is producing some large hail. It has been for a while now. Still seeing signs that it is capable of some pretty large hail as it lifts its way north and east. Let me clear this off a little bit. We'll zoom out a little bit. We just had that track on there. So that's who is in the line of this storm. Right now it's over Woodbine, extends up through Moorhead. And as we put this into motion, you can see how all those towns we were just listing off, Defiance, Dunlap, Dow City, Denison, all in the path of this storm with a history over the last hour and a half of producing some quarter-size hail or larger. This is north of the metro. We are in western Iowa, north of the metro. North of the metro in western Iowa is where we have the storm. This is the only storm at this point. So if you are in the metro, you don't have to be concerned about any severe weather your way. I could zoom out and show you that. We will keep an eye out as the afternoon goes on to see if anything does develop that is severe. This is a First Alert 6 weather day, not just for what we have right now, but in case anything else develops through the rest of our afternoon hours. Likely going to be spotty like we have right now. And this is going to be kind of how things continue to unfold for the rest of the day, where we just have a couple of these storms that have some strength with them and bring some large hail. Potentially, as we get a little bit later on, maybe we add in the risk for some gusty winds and perhaps a spin up in Iowa. But it does so far appear that we are mainly dealing with hail out of these storms. So we will do as we've done before. Keep this rolling with the radar without sound, and we will cut in with some updates as those come in. We're continuing to track this situation where we've had this severe weather making its way through portions of the northern, western Iowa to the north of the metro. This is a storm that has, for about 2 hours now, been putting down quarter-sized hail or larger all the way back to Schuyler, still capable of doing that as it's moving now into the far northeastern reaches of Harrison County, going to scrape parts of Shelby County, but mostly move into Crawford County. Moving into Dunlap right now. Be ready for possibility of some ping pong ball sized hail as that rolls in. And then we will continue to see that head toward Dow City, Buck Grove, Denison, perhaps Manila. This is continuing to push its way off to the north and east. And as it does so, continues to move away from the metro. I think what we'll do here is we will leave this radar rolling for just a little bit longer, but I'll push you here shortly to our ongoing newscast on First Alert 6, where Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord is continuing to track our situation with this storm, and he will keep you up to date there. As we continue to see any other updates with severe weather through the rest of the day, we will keep you posted and start up some new live streams that you could track with anything else that may form. Again, this is a First Alert 6 weather day. We so far have just had this storm. It has been a long-lived storm with large hail, but as we go through the rest of the day, give you an expectation of what to expect. We'll still hold on to that risk into the afternoon, and through about 6 p.m., we may still get a couple more of these storms that pop up. Mainly looking at a hail risk, perhaps some gusty winds, and in Iowa, you get into the area that has better ingredients to perhaps get a spin-up tornado as well off to the east of the metro. So we will continue to monitor that. We will be sure to first alert you if we start to see any signs of storms that start to strengthen. At this point, it is mainly our storm that is pushing its way into Crawford County. If you are in Crawford County or the very far reaches of Shelby County, I want you to be seeking shelter, get away from any kind of windows with large hail history of the storm, some heavy rain, and some lightning. But again, we will let Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord track this for you on First Alert 6 and wrap up our coverage on here for the time being. As you know, you can always keep track of the latest situation on our First Alert 6 weather app, where we send out push alerts when you get warnings, and you can track the interactive radar as well when we are not live. But I think for that, I appreciate you joining in, and hope you stay safe through the rest of this First Alert 6 weather day.